Hey guys, welcome to my living room here in Merida, Mexico. I've been wanting to do this video for so long. So here it is. It's really a video on some tips and tricks that I think will help you if you are wanting to be on this journey of moving to Mexico or really any country. I think these tips that I'm going to share with you can help you for really anywhere that you're choosing. So I'm going to start off with some tips on how to choose a country to move to. And then once you've chosen your country, be it Mexico or otherwise, I'm going to share with you some tips that have really helped me to integrate myself a little bit better or to make that transition just easier. First things first, how do you choose a country to want to move to? If you found yourself on this journey of wanting to move to another country, and that is whether you want to actually move there to live for the rest of your life, or you start out doing what I did, which is moving from country to country, just doing some slow travel, these tips will work either way. What countries do you choose? So the first thing is to kind of create for yourself. You can use an app or anything. I love my trusty little notebook. A list of your criteria. What do you want to experience? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? How much money will you spend? And what's the cost of living in the country that you're wanting to go to? So that's definitely what I use to kind of build my criteria list. I wanted a country that was relatively safe. I wanted a country that the cost of living was low enough that my dollar would stretch even further than what it was giving me at home. I wanted something with rich culture so that I would have lots of things to do and experience on a day-to-day basis. So I really did want something not too far from the culture of where I'm coming from. I wasn't ready to put myself in like a complete culture shock. Culture shock is a thing, and I wanted to just experience, to kind of ease into travel, if I may. And so I really wanted somewhere that, as I said, the cost of living was good. It was safe. It had a culture that I was interested in experiencing, and it had the resources that I needed in order to function as someone who is a remote worker, and resources for my family as well, because I'm bringing them along. So what I did was I started researching right away into countries that had cities with good Wi-Fi, especially, and resources for my child. So I was interested in getting her into a school there. So what are the schools like? If you're traveling with a child and you're interested in maybe placing them in schools in the countries that you're going to, what's that like? Is that even a possibility? Can you put a child in a school without having a residency visa or anything like that? These are all the things that you want to start researching right away if it applies to you. So if you're just a single person and you want to spend some time in a place, whether it's for 3 weeks, 3 months, or a year, whatever it is that you want to do, then you want to start to think about whatever it is that you need to make yourself comfortable. Now, a lot of questions that people ask me all the time is, what is it like to, rent a place here? And I did a whole video on that, so you can go back and watch that video. But what I will say in this one is make sure that you utilize the resources that the people on the ground use. So if they tell you to go to a certain website, browse that website to see what it is that the rental prices are like. If they say, if you're only staying somewhere for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or just a few weeks at a time, use Airbnb, VRBO, one of those kind of short rental websites. It doesn't really make sense to try and get a rental for a few weeks at a time. You're going to want a vacation rental for those short weeks. But if you're talking about 6 months or a year, then you can look into something more long-term like I did, because I knew I was staying in Mexico for at least 6 months. I knew I was staying in this city for at least 6 months, and so we decided to get a longer term rental. But anything shorter than that, I would say stick to Airbnb. You can reach out to your Airbnb host if you find somewhere that you really like and say that I want to stay a little longer. Can we arrange for a month-to-month kind of situation? Because those Airbnb's fees really rack up. But outside of that, you want to join as much Facebook groups as you can, because there is a Facebook group for everything. Like, for instance, there are many Facebook groups for expats who are living in Merida, Mexico, but then it gets even more niched down. There are Facebook groups for kids There are Facebook group for teenagers. There are Facebook, and the parents of these is what I'm talking about, obviously. There are Facebook groups for homeschooling kids. So if you know right off the bat that you're going to be homeschooling your child, you want to join these and see what resources are available to you. Some of them will not allow you to become a member if you're not already in the place. Like I know of one Kids in Merida Facebook group, they won't allow you to join unless you're already in here, and that is for good reason. Sometimes a lot of these groups are used for meetups and actually planning things with people who are here, and it gets frustrating when you're trying to do these things and you're not even in the country. Make sure that you read the rules of the Facebook groups and find a group that's relevant to you, because there are lots of groups that will help you if you're planning your move, and then there are some that are really for the people who are already here and want certain resources. So let's talk a little bit about those Facebook groups. Now, as I said, they are huge resources for finding out information about the places that you're scouting when you are scouting. I have a few tips though, because once you start to join these Facebook groups, the questions are relentless and you become annoying when you start to ask the same questions over and over and over again. Every Facebook group has a search button, and the search button brings up solid gold. So you're gonna wanna do that. You're going to have questions. We get it, we understand. I had a million questions. What did I do? I searched. So you use your Facebook search button and you look for the questions first before you ask the questions, because some of them are really, there was no effort on your part to actually find out this information for yourself. You just want us to help you, just like randomly, just come on guys, put some effort on your part. Google it, or at least search in the Facebook group. I realized that there is an airport here in Merida, Mexico, sure. When I looked for the prices to land here in Merida, I realized quickly that that was not an option, because I don't know why, but for some reason the tickets in and out of Merida airport are ridiculously expensive, and it was 4 of us traveling. So I decided to land in Cancun, which is 4 hours away, 4.5 hours depending on your mode of transportation. So one of the most common questions in any exploratory Facebook group is, how do you get from Cancun to Merida, Mexico? There are entire blog posts on this. When I researched this question, I Googled, I read blogs. That's why I love blogs. And I searched in the Facebook groups as well. And I saw that there were multiple ways to get from the airport to Merida, Mexico. You could take a cab. You could take an Uber. Well, you can't take an Uber in the airport. You'd have to go outside of the Cancun airport, but that's the whole thing. You can hire a private driver. You could take a flight from Cancun to Merida airport if you'd like. You could rent a car and drive yourself. So obviously all of those comes with its own sets of questions, and you know where you'll find answers to those questions? In these Facebook groups. So don't think that you need to ask a fresh question about that, because the information is the same. I searched in a Facebook group how to get from Cancun to Merida, and I saw threads upon threads upon threads of people asking the same questions. I was able to find one that was recent enough. I read through and saw some private transfer drivers offering their services. I reached out to a couple of them. I asked them for prices. I selected one, all without having to ask my own question. Now, you do want relevant information, so I can understand you asking a question if the last set of questions relating to the topic that you want information on was 6 months to a year ago. Then sure, ask the question all over again. But if the question has been asked enough and there are resources there, there is no need to ask the question all over again unless your situation is unique and the circumstances are different. Even if you're coming with pets, there are a bunch of people who have asked that question. How do I get from Cancun to Merida with my pet? And a bunch of different answers, because again, there are a bunch of different ways to do that exact thing. And so you can research, use up the Facebook groups, the search button in the Facebook groups to find the questions to the answers. To find the answers to the questions that you want. One of the ways that you can get to the city is to take the bus. The bus costs around $35 depending on which one that you get, 35 US one way. And it does take about 4.5 hours to get from the airport to Merida. Don't be afraid to take the bus. The bus is fine, it's comfortable, especially if you get the platinum class bus, which is, it has an air-conditioned waiting lounge in the bus station. Outside of that, the bus station is miserable and hot and busy and whatever, but the bus itself is comfortable, it's fine. Just try and make sure that you either have, all of them say they have Wi-Fi. The the Wi-Fi does not work. It never works for me, and I've taken it quite a few times now. So what I would say is just make sure that your devices are charged up, and if you can, you get some data on your SIM, or you go to sleep. The buses are comfortable enough. That is a comfortable and reliable way to get to Merida from the airport, and they have a few different places that they will let you off. So if you're going to downtown Central, you can take the bus there. If you're coming somewhere to the north, you can take the bus to the Alta Brisa station, which is kind of close to me, and it's close really anywhere in the north. That's very comfortable. What I chose to do the very first time that we were landing in Cancun to come to Merida is to hire a private driver, because again, I said it's 4 of us, and it was just very much more comfortable to have a private driver to do all of that, especially after a full day of travel. When you work out the cost, it was just a little bit more expensive, and it was so much more convenient to have someone drop us straight to our Airbnb. Weigh your pros and cons. One question that I do see come up a lot that I wanted to just answer for you if you're looking for that information is, should you drive? Like if you rent a car, should you drive from the Cancun airport to Merida at night? I've done that route myself, and it's not a bad route. It's one straight shot road. But would I do it at night by myself? I don't think so. And so if it's your first time landing in Cancun to come to Merida, if it's at night, I wouldn't do it. Stay in Cancun overnight and drive up the next day. But don't be afraid to rent a car and drive and make that drive yourself. It's a really easy road, straight road, one shot. You won't get lost, trust me. You'll be fine. So what I'm trying to do is to alleviate your fears. Everybody has, especially if you've never been in a place before, everybody has those kind of fears, like which way is the best, what should I do? Taking the bus is fine. Hiring a private driver is very convenient, but of course that's kind of costly. Renting a car is good too. Just don't drive at night. Don't try to do that trip at night. I wouldn't do it. I don't suggest that you do, but if you do rent a car, feel free to take that journey by yourself in the day. I've done that before, completely fine. Let me answer some of the questions that I see coming out in the Facebook groups very often. So I'm hoping that this video will be a resource for you so that if you have some of these same questions, you will know the answers. So for starters, can you rent somewhere in Merida, Mexico just on a tourist visa? Yes, you can. Landlords will be willing to rent to you, but generally landlords like to rent for longer term. So if you're wanting to rent something, if you land and you get 6 months here and you want to stay in Merida for 6 months, then yes, you can rent somewhere. What I suggest that you do is to not join the Facebook groups and then say, I'm looking for a 6-month rental for X amount of dollars, because then you're going to find people are giving you subpar residences for that X amount of dollars. When you state your budget right off the bat, then they're going to raise their prices for that. What I suggest you do is use Facebook Marketplace even before you land. Put the location as Merida so you get to see the listings and look around at what the prices are currently like, and then when you land you can stay in an Airbnb while you scout out some rental properties, or if you get connected to a realtor who can help you beforehand or while you're here, then even better. I'm not a realtor, don't reach out to me. I don't know anything about renting here. I did this exact process. I went on Facebook Marketplace while I was in an Airbnb. I went and visited quite a few properties. I found one that I really liked, and we are here now. I signed a 6-month lease, and that's that. Can you rent a car here in Merida, Mexico? Yes, you can. Car rental prices are expensive though. I'ma just tell you that. So be mindful of that. They're almost as expensive as renting a damn house. I do have a rental here now, a long-term rental. I feel like I manifested it. It's affordable. It's actually quite affordable than what I've seen a lot of places quote me. So I'm very happy with it. I love my car. And I love that I have it for the entire duration that I'm here. Can you put your child in a school here on a tourist visa? I haven't found one that will allow you to do that as yet. If you are a veteran here and you know of a school, by all means slip me the way, but you have to remember that my child is older, so I'm looking for a school that does a lot of their curriculum in English as well as in Spanish, so that she can integrate as well as learn the language and all of that. If you have a young child, and once you do your research and you find the ones that you are comfortable with, there are many Facebook groups about that particular topic. So just join those. That will allow you to join before you get here, and then once you get here, you make sure you join those groups so you get those resources on which schools, and homeschooling pods are plentiful here too. So if you've decided that you want to homeschool, then that is a great option. What else? Almost all of the conveniences that you have in the US, Canada, or any other big nation, you will find it here. So a lot of the seasonings or the specialty items that you are thinking, should I bring this with me? You probably don't need to. There are Walmarts all over the place. There's a Costco and a Sam's Club here. A lot of your conveniences are here. What I would say is, if you have like a particular brand, like natural hair stuff, if you have particular brands of things that you want, and certainly medications, those are the things that you probably want to research and carry with you. But you don't need to carry a whole bunch of things, because those conveniences are definitely here. The popular modes of transportation here without a car, yes, you can get a bus, you can jump on a bus. I've never done it, my mom has. The buses, I think, are very uncomfortable. I haven't seen a lot of buses with air conditioning, and the place is very hot. But Uber and Didi and InDriver, those are 3 rideshare options that work very well here, and they're very affordable. So those are fine. You can get those very quickly and very easily within the Merida periphery. Once you go outside the periferical, that's the highway that surrounds the city, things become a little bit shakier. I was outside of the periferical for a good 4 weeks, and Ubers were expensive in comparison, and some, they cancel on you all the time, so just be aware of that. But yes, you can survive completely off of just rideshare options here. You can of course schedule your Uber trips. I did that a lot when I was outside of the peripheral, and I know I needed to be somewhere. I scheduled a lot of my trips to make sure that my Uber driver would show up on time. So those are the popular modes of transportation. If you're just doing slow travel and you're coming to check out Merida for a while, then you're coming to check out Merida for a while. Should you come here and do an exploratory trip to decide if you should move here? Absolutely, because there are lots of things that people don't like about Merida too. For one, I hear a lot about the heat. I heard a lot about that before we moved. It's very hot and miserable. I'm from Jamaica, so I don't know if I can give you the best answer to that question if you're coming from the US, because to me it is comparative. So far, I've not been here in the hottest months yet, so I can't really compare like the April, May, June weather to the Jamaican weather. But so far, you can see that I am in a sweat. Oops. I just knocked out my earring. Come on now. You can see that I am in a sweater at home right now because I'm sitting right under the fan, and yeah, I'm comfortable in my sweater at home. So that question is really going to be dependent on what you're used to at home and how much you can manage. If you're coming from a colder climate and you want to know if you can survive the Merida heat, I do suggest that you plan your exploratory trip around April, May, or June. People have said that those are the hottest months of the year. We will see what that is like when we get to it. Should you live in central or in the northern communities? That is another question that comes up a lot. What neighborhood should you live in? So here's the thing for me. The neighborhood I've lived now or stayed Airbnb in quite a few neighborhoods in the north. Most expats, I realize, are concentrated in the northern section of Merida. And it's completely fine to live anywhere in the north. Pick a neighborhood, it really doesn't matter. A lot of them, I've never been in a neighborhood yet that isn't walkable, isn't close to, all the conveniences that you would need. I really love the one that I'm in now, but this one is a little bit pricier. Which neighborhood should you choose to live in? It really is going to come down to what you want, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. The question that I will answer is, should you live in central or in the north? Central is if you want to be in the middle of the action all the time. I didn't need that. I like to be able to drive or Uber down to the action as much as I'd like. I don't need to live in it. You know what I'm saying? The north is very suburbia, the homes, you're living among the Mexicans. You're really integrating into the lifestyle here. And then you get to go to all the nice restaurants both in the north, or you go down to Central if you want. Central, especially in the rainy season when those roads are flooded out, it's just not for me. Central with all the noise and the hustle and the bustle and the traffic and the Central is not for me. I've never stayed there, but just when I visit and I see the homes and I'm like, this is where y'all live. Like, I could not live in Central. I know that right off the bat. So that is not a question that I can answer for you. Come and stay in an Airbnb in Central and then stay in one in the north. But when it comes to which neighborhood you should live in the north, pick one. It really doesn't matter. They're all nice. They all have their own charm. And I can't say that I've ever really stayed in one that is, oh, this is bad, don't stay here, this is unsafe, or this is just ugly, or there is really no reason to rule out any of the neighborhoods that I've stayed in the north so far. Another thing that for the Facebook groups again is you want to take everybody's opinion with a grain of salt. Like, I've seen people say they can't find good food here, they can't find cute clothes here, they can't find good beauty people, and I'm like, Merida is a huge city. You're telling me that all of these restaurants, you can't find nothing good to eat? Like, that's crazy to me when I hear people complain about the one genre of things in an entire city. Like, the food is bad, the food is trash, the clothes, you can't find cute clothes, you can't find plus size clothing. You are not looking. Like, you are not looking. Like, some of the questions that I see asked in Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups, people are absolutely not looking. They want other people to hand them solutions on a platter, and I don't think it works that way. Sometimes you have to really help yourself. Help me to help you. What have you done that I can refine the answer for you? But to just say, oh, there's no good food and bash an entire city, like, that's crazy. All right, so that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say in this video. I feel like a hypocrite sometimes because when you're new, you have all these questions that you want to ask and you want to be answered. You're just very enthusiastic. You're in the Facebook groups with your list of questions. And I was there too. So I know what you're going through. I know the anxiety you're feeling. What I'm hoping that this video will do is to answer some of those questions for you and alleviate some of the fears that you have, some of the anxiety that you're experiencing, and tell you that it's completely fine. It's completely safe if you've done your research, like you went through everything that I mentioned in the first part of the video, and you decided that Merida is somewhere that you want to make like a long-term stop on your trip, or you want to move here full-time. Then, you know, Merida, I chose Merida because it's safe, it's fun, there's lots of things to do here. The culture is beautiful, the food is amazing. My calendar has never been so full of things to do and restaurants that I want to try. And there are so many things that you can do just outside of the city too. So whether you stay in the city or you take a day trip and go out, there's just so much to see and do and experience here. So I definitely recommend Merida for long-term stays. But all I'm saying to you, that this entire video was just my suggestion is, please use up the search function on the Facebook groups and Google a few things before you jump into the group and ask questions that we've heard over and over and over again. So this video, it was just some tips on how to find the information that you seek. It's even if you can't find it on Google, or the information that you are seeing on Google is outdated, Facebook groups are a wealth of knowledge. They have all the answers that you seek. Use up the search function first before you ask your questions, but feel free to join the groups and ask your questions. That's where you're gonna find your information for making this move to come to Merida and enjoy this lifestyle. So that being said, if you have any sensible questions that you want to ask me, feel free to ask them below and let me know what other videos you would like me to create for you so that you can make the transition yourself. I hope that if you do choose to come to Merida for long-term stays, that it is as enjoyable as I have found it and you will love your time here. Make sure you hit like and you subscribe to the channel if you find the information useful. I will be sure to bring you more information on living in Merida, Mexico, so that you can make the decision for yourself if you're still on the fence somewhere. So that's me, the traveling Jamaican. I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.